Hey, what's up guys? My name is Naam. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you updates to the boost to unemployment benefits, stimulus news, and also economic news as well. So many of the White House Congress Democrats, they warned that Thursday night that they're very far apart on the next coronavirus relief bill. Of those who are actually doing the negotiation is gonna be Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer. So those four, they emerged from a 3-hour meeting on the Capitol with significant policy differences unresolved, even though that they wanted to have a deadline by the end of this week. So the core people who are actually doing the negotiation, they're just blaming each other for who's at fault. So all this drama that's actually even going on could seem like it could be a hit TV show. So Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, he said that we understand where we are and where they are. I think there's a lot of issues that we're close to a compromise position on, but I think there's a handful of big issues that we're still very far apart. So on the other hand, Charles Schumer, he said that the Democrats asked Mnuchin and Meadows to meet us in the middle, and the GOP negotiators, they refused. So as you guys can tell, it's kind of like a finger pointing game, like he said, she said, and like we told them to do this, but they refused. But no, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. So it's just a big mess right now. Schumer, he also added that the GOP negotiators says that no, it has to be mostly in our direction. So during this whole press conference that's going on, Chuck Schumer, he did decline to provide the specifics surrounding the Democrats' offer, but Nancy Pelosi, she suggested that it was related to the timeline governing the various benefits that are on the table. So not just the reduction of the size or just the benefits nearing its term. Nancy Pelosi, she also added that if we need to cut back on some of the timing to reduce the costs, we can do that. But she also says that, but our priorities don't go away. So on the other side of the drama, Mark Meadows, he said that the Republicans, they had offered a significantly greater compromise than the Democrats, and they accused of the Democrats not being serious about wanting a deal. So as you guys can see, it's kind of like a pointing game. It's really hard to know who's telling the truth and who's not. And plus, it's politics. You just never know. Mark Meadows, he also continued to add that President Trump is coming to the realization that perhaps some of our Democrats, both in the House and the Senate, are not serious about compromise, and they're not serious about trying to meet the needs of the American people. So similar to the Democrats, when Mark Meadows and Stephen Mnuchin were talking to reporters, they really didn't specify of what was their offer that they had on the table. All we know so far is that they said that it was a very fair compromise. The only thing that we really do know right now was what was in the HEALS Act and also what was in the HEROES Act. The HEALS Act wanted to give a flat rate of $200 for 2 months. Then after that, it will be a remainder of 70% of a previous person's wages all the way to the end of this year. And as for the HEROES Act, which is a Democrats bill, they would want to extend the $600 a week all the way to January of 2021. So also in yesterday's meeting, Stephen Mnuchin, he also said that the group, they discussed about eviction moratoriums and rental assistance. But there are no other further reports that talked about the outcome of this eviction status, so as of right now, we really don't know for sure. But when it comes down to other key issues, such as money for state and local governments, the Democrats and Republicans, they're still also very far apart from this issue. So many individuals on the Republican side, they kind of resisted new state funding, and they're just kind of worried about bailing out states for bad budget decisions prior to the pandemic. Even though the Senate GOP, they want no new money that's offered to state and local governments, but they did offer more flexibility to the $150 billion that was already passed in Congress with the CARES Act. But on the other side, the Democrats, they're asking around $1 trillion of new funding to help state and local governments, to help the spread of this coronavirus, and to help with emergency services during this time. Stephen Mnuchin, he also said that, like during the negotiation that was going on, he said that Trump called him 3 times, and that Trump is now willing to sign a bill that has a massive amount of money that's going to bail out states and local governments. So far, this group of people in Congress have met on a daily basis since last Monday, but there was a little progress that actually went on. So at the making of this video, which is Friday, August 7th, I don't really think that they're gonna meet the deadline of passing a bill by the end of this day. Many individuals in the GOP Senate, they want to pare down the deal, like they want to make it smaller, and they call it a skinny agreement. But on the other side, Democrats, they have routinely rejected the strategy, and Pelosi on Thursday, she said that so the skinny idea was actually anorexic. People in Congress, they got some jokes, man, like seriously. Because Pelosi, she keeps saying that it is clear that we should do something, and we should do something big. The negotiators from the White House, they even said that they're willing to walk away of talks if they don't believe an agreement can actually be reached. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin, he said that we're not going to just keep coming back every single day if we can't get to a deal. We've said by the end of this week, we want to reach an agreement on major issues. The president, he wants to get a deal and he'll just move on to take other actions. Because President Trump is looking to take executive action dealing with unemployment insurance, school loans, renter protections from evictions, and payroll tax cuts. So it is very clear that the president does want something to happen, because if nothing happens, he's just gonna do it himself. But even if the president wanted to do it himself and pass any executive orders, there will be a lot of legal challenges. Even Charles Schumer said that, Mark Meadows and Mnuchin, who works in the White House, they told him that it's probably not a good choice. So now let's talk more about executive orders, because on Friday, White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow, he said that they did draft an executive order suspending payroll tax, and it was nearly completed that he thinks that President Trump will actually sign it. But actually taking action on an executive order on payroll tax cuts can be pretty controversial, since most of the lawmakers in both parties, they really don't like that idea. So inside of this potential executive order is that to temporarily suspend payroll taxes, reinstate federal moratoriums and evictions, reinstate lapses in additional unemployment insurance benefits, and suspend federal student loan payments. So the president said that he could actually sign this executive order as early as Friday afternoon or even Saturday if nothing happens in Congress. But the thing about this action is that legal experts, they say that Trump's authorities are actually limited. Daniel Hamill, which is a professor at the University of Chicago Law School, he said that the Treasury Secretary can delay deadlines for payments of payroll taxes, but they cannot order employees to increase their employees' take-home pay because of the amount of money that they withheld. So this professor, he also said that employers would likely not go along with this just due to the fact that unless Congress can pass something to make sure that these payments will be forgiven. All right, so now let's talk more about economic news dealing with unemployment. So in the month of July, the US gained about 1.8 million jobs, even though the coronavirus cases are getting much higher in the country. So also on a positive note, July had a reduction in the unemployment rate, because in June it was like 11.1 and in July it's actually 10.2. All right, so far with the unemployment stuff, it's kind of good news, but I got some bad news as well, is that in July, there's still around 10.6 million people who have lost their jobs during this pandemic, and they're still trying to look for work. Even with the recent numbers of the unemployment rates going down, we're still very far apart from the economy getting back to where it was. So for those who are still unemployed, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, in a press conference, he said that they're going to need support if they're unable to pay their bills, continue to spend money, and remain in their homes. And Jerome Powell, he is a Republican, so he's very conscious about that. But during this whole pandemic, he's been a little bit more liberal and about spending money actually to try to keep the economy afloat. So whenever Jerome Powell, he does give out his warnings, it does resonate with a lot of people who are in the GOP, but there are also many people in the GOP who really don't like the idea of new stimulus measures and also spending more money just to tackle on more debt. The thing about Jerome Powell is that he's very debt conscious, but he has said it on multiple occasions that it is crucial to spend as much money necessary now to foster a strong recovery and tackle long-term spending issues after this crisis. Because the thing is that he even said that in a broad sense, it's just money that's well spent. It's to keep people in their homes and to keep businesses. Alright guys, so that pretty much does it for me. If you guys want to hang out with me some more, check out my videos over here.